Over the weekend, there was a Patriot muster rally in Denver. And of course, like most of these rallies, there's people from the other side. There's the BLM slash Antifa. And by the way, I'm going to use the phrase Antifa. The police have said this guy is not affiliated with Antifa, but I'm going to trust Joe Biden that Antifa is just an idea. So I'm just going to use the idea of Antifa. There's that kind of a group was there, yelling and doing their thing. And there was a vet there, a Navy, I think he was a Navy vet, Lee Keltner, I think is how you pronounce his name. And he was, you can see, we're not going to show videos of anything. The shooting wasn't really caught on video, but he was there, and some other kind of, he was there to back the blue, I think was the reason he was there. He was there to kind of support the police. And his side got into an argument, and the video that you can see is he's arguing with someone with a Black Guns Matter shirt on, which is Maj Touré's group. We've had Maj on the show before. But the guy wearing the Black Guns Matter shirt is screaming. He's actually calling people the N-word, which is odd, and encouraging them to mace him and saying, "Don't touch me," and blah, 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 blah. And they're screaming back and forth. But there's not physical, you don't see physical altercation there. And Lee is he's holding a can of bear spray or pepper spray or something, but he's holding it not up. He's holding it like down at his side because I think he's worried that like something could happen, right? And there hasn't been, you don't see any real physical violence happening during the video. But then what happens is Lee he kind of disengages from that guy, and someone else argues with the guy. He steps off of camera for a moment, and after a few seconds, you hear his spray and a shot, and then there's a couple photographs that capture some moments before and kind of after this, but one of the photographs shows him spraying while a gun's being pointed at him, like not down, but like up at him, and he was killed. He was shot in the head and killed. And the person who killed him, his name is Matthew Doloff. He, as I mentioned, he's on the left. He was hired by NBC as a NBC affiliate 9 News supposedly as a security guard. Although one of the spokespeople for the Denver Department of Excise and Licenses, because of course they have one of those, mentioned that he didn't have a security guard license or anything. But he then, the police come over, they take him into custody. He's being charged with murder now. And I want to piece this apart a little bit because I don't want to be hypocritical, and I want to, in a non-hypocritical way, in an objective as possible way, with the strive towards objectivity, talk about this shooting. Because we have in the past said, look, if you're armed and someone goes after you, you can't get into a fist fight if you're armed, and you do have a right to defend yourself. And so I'm sure that the other side will be saying, well, he sprayed him and he had to, and you guys need to support his right to self-defense. So I'm sure that will be the argument, or one argument. And so I want to walk through that a little bit. So first of all, we don't actually know what happened, so we do need to take this we do need to assume innocence until there's evidence, but until there's enough evidence. But let's look at the evidence here. What we do know is that Lee was walking around. He didn't get into an altercation when he could have, right? If we compare the shooter's behavior to Kyle Rittenhouse, one of the things I said when you're armed was you need to not get into a fist fight, but what you also need to do is you want to de-escalate. Now, Kyle was running away. Kyle was literally running away and getting cornered by a mob. So I don't know what more de-escalation there can possibly, running away is pretty good de-escalation. He wasn't standing his ground to have a fight. He was running away. This guy wasn't running away. It wasn't a huge crowd. He could have easily just walked away from this altercation had he felt threatened. And of the pictures I've seen, I don't see any picture with the bear spray or pepper spray or whatever it was. I don't see any picture of the pepper spray raised in a threatening manner without a firearm also raised. And it's not like the guy pulled out the firearm. It's not like he's standing there in like position sol or something and it's not aimed. He's aiming it. And I think once you aim a firearm, that's the initiation. Like once you're aiming the firearm at me, that's an implied, okay, maybe we're having a real firefight now. Maybe you have to deploy pepper spray if that's all you've got on you or whatever. So I think that the case would be hard to make that this was a self-defense situation unless the guy's gun was completely put away and he got pepper sprayed in the face first and then he pulled out his firearm and shot. But based on what I've seen, based on the timing between when you hear the spray and the shot, based on the picture I've seen where the guy's gun is already out and facing the victim while the spray is being released, it looks an awful lot like the gun was drawn and aimed at Lee prior to anything else happening. So it doesn't sound a lot like he was de-escalating, trying to not do anything and had to shoot in self-defense. It looks a lot like he just murdered the guy because he was angry or frustrated or whatever. And they weren't talking for that long. Like Lee went over there and it was within a few seconds. I mean, it was almost right away. And there's another picture where like you kind of see some like a hand, like Lee's hand up by the other guy's head, and people say, well, they were in an altercation, but that's not clear either because the guy's reaching it. Maybe the guy was reaching for his pepper spray. You can't tell what was happening. It's a single still image. And I don't know if there's any other video, but there's a reason that I look at this and I don't say this is clearly self-defense like I did for Kyle Rittenhouse. I look at this and go, there's a lot of evidence here that it's not just self-defense, that something else was going on here. And I find it hard to believe that he felt so threatened when he had behind him was clear. He could have turned around and left, that he felt so threatened that he had to pull out his firearm and shoot a guy. So, yeah, that's my synopsis of the whole thing. I don't know if you have a different opinion, Carrie, if you've seen this or what your thoughts are on this.
No, I don't. I haven't seen it, and I really appreciate you breaking down the Kyle Rittenhouse video and also this shooting for me, because it's the kind of thing I just sort of, I don't know. It's one of those things I don't really have a desire to get into the details of.
My concern is always that each side does their like, oh, well, it must be the other guy that's bad, right? And I want to be careful to not do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on it. But I do appreciate other people breaking things down for me so I can hear their perspective.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all. We'll see. The guy's being charged. And it's, it's sad. He was a veteran. He seemed like a decent guy. He ran a hat shop, which made me think of you. He made cowboy hats and had a lot of love for kind of the Old West nostalgia and
I'm so sick of this rioting, this protesting, all the lives that have been lost as a result of this that they're just ignoring. I'm sick of the media, the legacy media gaslighting us and using Orwellian terms like peaceful protests when what they mean is riots. The Associated Press, Libby Emmons did a story on this. The Associated Press has now sent out new guidelines for journalists to not use the word riot.
Right.
To use peaceful protest. How much more Orwellian could you get?
Yeah.
And I wish there were more people on the left standing up and saying enough. But I've been wishing that for 4 years, and every time I do, it's like, I appreciate meeting people. Beverly and I got to interview a comedian who I'm friends with his wife, actually. That's how I know him. This comedian in Los Angeles, that interview is going to be coming out soon, who is on the left and who has started criticizing the left. And I love it when people on the left do that. And it makes the most sense to me. I don't understand people who say, well, you must be on the right because you criticize the left so much. It's like, no, the same way that you should be self-critical and working on improving yourself, by extension, you should then also be working on improving your quote unquote side, the people that you represent.
Yep.
And why would I criticize the right? I'm not on the right. Like, why? And where are the Democratic leaders? Where are the progressives who are criticizing the rioting and the violence and the needless loss of life, destruction of property? Where are they? There's a few. I've seen was it Noam Chomsky who was speaking out against it, and I did see Robert Reich saying some stuff about Antifa, but there's not nearly enough of it. The majority of the criticism is coming from the right. Why? It should be coming from the left. You
Yeah.
should be calling into check your own side and the extremist part of your side, because they do represent you. They do represent me. That's why I don't understand this sort of knee-jerk response of people just to be critical of the other side and not themselves. It sounds like it would be awful to be married to you, because all you would ever do is try to blame the other person and never take responsibility for anything or for improving yourself. You would just constantly be, well, you this, you that, you this.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree. I do want. Can I just clarify something because of what I saw some stuff in chat? I do think we should wait for the facts are in, and I do think this guy gets innocent until proven guilty. Like, that's the standard. He's innocent until proven guilty. That's the standard. There was witnesses. Maybe there's other video. Maybe there's other circumstances that we don't know. However, with Kyle, we saw what we saw, and my assessment was, seems pretty clear that it's self-defense. Maybe more evidence will come to change my mind, but the evidence that we have so far exonerates him. In this case, it seems like it's probably not self-defense, but could be other evidence. I'm not going to die on the hill if it's definitely not self-defense. If there's other evidence that comes out and shows it's self-defense, then that's what it is. So just be careful that I'm not saying run with this. The guy was definitely not. The guy was definitely guilty of murder. We don't know. That's why we have a court system, and that's why we look at evidence and take our time and try and do this dispassionately and look at all the available evidence. So.